Have you ever pulled up your sweet potato vines at the end of the season, super excited about your harvest, only to find a bunch of skinny, disappointing tubers while your plants looked absolutely gorgeous all summer long? You're not alone. It's one of the most frustrating things I hear from gardeners, and the good news is it's completely fixable. In this video, I'm walking you through exactly how to grow sweet potatoes that actually produce massive tubers instead of just pretty leaves. We're covering soil prep, planting technique, watering strategy, and why fertilizer might be your enemy. Plus, stick around to the end because I've got a bonus tip that can literally double the size of your tubers, and it has nothing to do with what you feed them. If you're ready to finally get this right, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss future videos. And if you find this helpful, smash that like button and share it with a fellow gardener who needs to see this. Now, let's dive in. Sweet potatoes are one of the most rewarding crops you can grow. When you do it right, you'll pull up tubers the size of your forearm. And here's what's going to surprise you. What these plants actually need is often the exact opposite of what we've been taught about gardening. Once you flip your mindset and start thinking like the plant, everything changes. Let me show you how. So let's start by understanding why this whole beautiful leaves, tiny tubers thing happens in the first place. Here's what most people don't realize about sweet potatoes. This plant evolved in tropical climates where survival meant one thing: store as much energy as possible underground for the dry season. The tubers aren't there to feed you, they're there as insurance for the plant. Now, when you give a sweet potato plant everything it could possibly want, rich soil, tons of nitrogen, constant water, the plant basically thinks, why would I store food underground? Life is great up here. So it keeps pumping out leaves and vines because from the plant's perspective, there's no reason to prepare for hard times. It's living its best life. But here's where it gets interesting. The plant doesn't care about what we want. What it cares about is survival. So our job as gardeners is to create just enough stress that the plant thinks, okay, maybe I should start saving some energy underground, just in case. Not so much stress that it dies or stops growing entirely, but just enough that it shifts gears from leaf production to tuber production. That's the sweet spot. And honestly, once you get this concept in your head, it's going to influence every decision you make from here on out. Keep that in mind. All right, now let's talk about soil prep, because this is where most people completely blow it before they even plant anything. You've probably been told your whole gardening life that you need rich, fertile soil full of compost and nutrients, right? Well, for sweet potatoes, that's actually terrible advice. Here's the deal. Sweet potatoes do best in loose, sandy, slightly poor soil. I know that sounds crazy, but think about it from the plant's perspective. If the soil is too rich, especially if it's loaded with nitrogen, that plant is going to focus all its energy on growing leaves. It's like giving a teenager unlimited money. Why would they save for the future? So here's what you actually want to do. Start with soil that drains well. Sandy loam is perfect. If your soil is heavy clay, you need to work in some sand or build raised beds. But here's the key. Don't add a ton of compost or aged manure like you would for tomatoes or squash. A little bit is fine, but not much. And this is critical. Avoid any fertilizer that's high in nitrogen. If you're using a fertilizer, you want one that's higher in phosphorus and potassium, something like a 5-10-10 ratio. But honestly, I don't fertilize my sweet potatoes at all anymore. They don't need it, and every time I've added fertilizer, I've regretted it. The vines went crazy and the tubers stayed small. I learned that lesson the hard way after 3 seasons of disappointment. Now, when it comes to actually planting these things, timing and technique both matter. Sweet potatoes need warm soil, and I mean really warm. We're talking 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit at a minimum. If you plant them too early when the soil's still cool, they're just going to sit there and sulk, and you'll lose valuable growing time. I wait until about 2 weeks after my last frost date, when the soil has had time to really warm up. And honestly, I stick my hand in the dirt to check. If it feels chilly, I wait longer. It's not scientific, but it works. For planting, you want to use slips. Those are the rooted sprouts that come off a sweet potato. You can buy them or grow your own, but either way, make sure they're healthy with good roots. Space them about 12 to 18 inches apart in rows that are 3 to 4 feet apart. Yeah, that seems like a lot of space, but trust me, those vines are going to spread like crazy. When you plant each slip, bury about half of it, maybe 3 to 4 nodes deep. This gives it a good anchor and encourages root development. And here's something most people miss. Plant them on a slight angle rather than straight down. It makes it easier for the tubers to develop horizontally, which gives you nicer shaped sweet potatoes. One more thing about planting that makes a huge difference. Mound up your rows. Create these ridges that are maybe 8 to 10 inches tall. This does two things. First, it improves drainage, which is going to be important for what we're about to talk about with watering. Second, it gives the tubers plenty of loose soil to expand into. When tubers have to push through hard, compacted soil, they stay small or get weird shapes, but in a nice, loose mound, they can grow big and beautiful. I actually use my hoe to create these mounds, and it only takes a few minutes, but it makes a massive difference in the final.
Now let's talk about watering, because this is where people really go wrong. Here's the pattern I see all the time. Someone plants sweet potatoes, waters them regularly like they would any other vegetable, and ends up with a jungle of vines and pathetic tubers. Sound familiar? Here's the thing about sweet potatoes and water. They need consistent moisture when they're first establishing, like for the first couple weeks after you plant them. But once they're established and the vines start running, you need to back off, way off. I water deeply maybe once a week, and only if there's been no rain. And by deeply, I mean I really soak the mounds, about an inch of water. But then I let the soil dry out between waterings. This is that stress I was talking about earlier. When the soil dries out a bit, the plant gets the message that it should probably start storing food underground. If you keep the soil constantly moist, the plant never gets that signal. It just keeps partying with all that surface moisture and making more leaves. And here's something I wish someone had told me years ago. Stop watering entirely about 3 to 4 weeks before you plan to harvest. Just stop. Let the soil really dry out. This forces the plant to finish converting all its energy into the tubers and toughens up the skins, which helps them store better. I know it feels wrong to stop watering a plant that looks healthy, but I promise you this is the move. My harvests got noticeably bigger once I started doing this. If you're finding this helpful so far, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. Alright, now let's talk about fertilizer. Fertilizer. Oh man, this is probably the biggest mistake I see people make. They treat sweet potatoes like they're tomatoes or corn, crops that are heavy feeders. But sweet potatoes, they're light feeders. In fact, they're so light that in decent soil, they need nothing. Zero. Nada. And if you give them nitrogen-rich fertilizer, game over. You're going to get the most beautiful, lush green vines you've ever seen, and tubers the size of your thumb. I'm not saying you should never fertilize, but if you do, it needs to be very light and low in nitrogen. If your soil is really poor, like you're starting with basically sand or terrible subsoil, then fine, work in a bit of compost before planting. But that's it. Don't side dress with fertilizer during the growing season. Don't feed them fish emulsion. Don't give them anything that's going to pump them full of nitrogen. The more you baby them with food, the more they'll give you leaves instead of tubers. The more you leave them alone on lean soil, the more they'll focus on making tubers. It's completely backwards for most of what we do in gardening, but it works. Here's my approach now. I plant in soil that had something else growing in it the previous season, maybe beans or peas, which actually fix nitrogen in the soil. So there's a little bit of residual fertility, but not a ton. That's perfect. The sweet potatoes get just enough to grow well, but not so much that they go crazy with foliage. And honestly, this hands-off approach is kind of amazing because it means less work for me. I'm not out there feeding them or fussing over them. I just let them do their thing. Now, maintenance during the growing season is pretty minimal, but there are a couple things you need to know. First, those vines are going to run everywhere. I'm talking 10, 15, even 20 feet in some cases. Some people try to keep them contained, but here's what I've learned. Let them run. Don't mess with them too much. Every time you move or disturb those vines, you risk disrupting the root system in the developing tubers. The plant might respond by putting out more roots at the nodes where the vines touch the ground, and that's energy that's not going into your main tubers. That said, if vines start rooting into the ground at the nodes, you can gently lift them and break those secondary roots.
You don't have to be aggressive about it, but if you see the vines really anchoring down in multiple spots, break those connections. You want all the plant's energy going to the tubers under the main plant, not to a bunch of little tubers scattered everywhere. I usually do this once or twice during the season, just gently lifting the vines and giving them a little shake. Takes maybe 10 minutes for my whole sweet potato bed. Weeding is important early in the season, but once those vines really get going, they'll shade out most weeds on their own. I keep the area around the mounds weed-free for the first month or so, and after that, the sweet potatoes basically take over. It's actually kind of fun to watch them just dominate the space. One more thing about maintenance. Resist the urge to hill up soil around the vines. I know with regular potatoes you hill them up to get more tubers, but with sweet potatoes, that doesn't work. Your tubers are already forming under those original mounds where you planted. Piling more soil on top of the vines later doesn't give you more tubers. It just makes a mess and can actually harm the ones you've got.
Harvesting timing is critical, and this is something that really separates okay harvests from amazing harvests. Sweet potatoes need a long growing season. We're talking 90 to 120 days depending on the variety. But here's the thing, you can't just count days on the calendar. You need to watch the plant and the weather. The sweet potatoes are ready when the leaves start to yellow and the vines begin to die back a bit. That's the plant telling you it's done. But you also need to harvest before the first frost. Frost will damage the tubers, and damaged tubers don't store well. So here's what I do. About a week before my expected first frost date, I start checking. I'll carefully dig around the base of one plant just with my hands, very gently, and see how big those tubers are. If they're looking good, I harvest everything. If they need more time and there's no frost in the immediate forecast, I leave them a bit longer. When you actually dig them up, be really careful. Sweet potatoes have thin skins that bruise easily. I use a digging fork and start about a foot away from the main plant, working my way in. Don't just yank up the vines. You'll break the tubers off and they'll be left in the ground. Once you pull them up, this part is important. Don't wash them right away. Brush off the big chunks of dirt, sure, but leave them a bit dirty. Let them cure first. We'll talk about that in the bonus section because that's where the magic really happens. Let's talk about some common problems you might run into and how to solve them. First is cracked tubers. This usually happens when you get a heavy rain or you water heavily after a dry period. The tubers swell too quickly and the skin splits. The solution is consistent watering. Not too much, but consistent. And if you know a big storm is coming late in the season, consider harvesting early if the tubers are close to ready. Cracked tubers don't store well, but they're still edible if you use them right away. Second problem, weirdly shaped tubers, long and skinny or knobbly or twisted. This happens when the soil is too compact. The tubers can't expand properly, so they grow in whatever direction they can find space. The fix is making sure your mounds are really loose and fluffy when you plant, and choosing a sandier soil mix if your native soil is heavy clay. Next season, amend more aggressively or build raised beds. Third issue, small tubers across the board. If everything is undersized, there are a few possible causes. 1, you didn't give them enough time. Sweet potatoes need that full growing season. 2, the soil was too cold when you planted and they got off to a slow start. 3, the variety you chose isn't suited to your climate. Some varieties need longer seasons than others. Check what grows well in your area and adjust next year. Fourth problem, pests, especially sweet potato weevils or wireworms. Weevils are these little dark beetles that lay eggs near the base of the plant, and their larvae tunnel into the tubers. If you see damage that looks like tunnels or holes, that's probably weevils or wireworms. Unfortunately, once they're in there, the tubers are pretty much toast. The best solution is prevention. Rotate your crops every year so you're not planting sweet potatoes in the same spot. Also, don't leave sweet potato debris in the garden over winter. Clear it all out so pests don't have a place to overwinter. Fifth issue, rot during storage. If your tubers develop soft spots or mold a few weeks after harvest, it usually means they weren't cured properly, they were stored too cold, or they had some damage you didn't notice. Always cure your tubers after harvest. Keep them in a warm spot and check them regularly during storage. Any that show signs of rot should be used immediately or discarded so they don't affect the others. The good news is, sweet potatoes are generally pretty trouble-free once you get them established. They're not as pest-prone as regular potatoes, they don't get blight like tomatoes, and they're pretty drought-tolerant. Follow the steps we've covered: lean soil, careful watering, hands-off fertilizing, and you should avoid most of these issues entirely. Now, for that bonus tip I promised you at the beginning, and this one is really important because it's the difference between tubers that are okay versus tubers that are absolutely incredible. The secret is curing. Most people skip this step entirely. They dig up their sweet potatoes, rinse them off, and stick them in the pantry. Man, yeah, they're edible, but they're nowhere near as good as they could be. Cured sweet potatoes transform sweet potatoes. It heals any minor cuts or bruises on the skin. It toughens up the skin for longer storage. And here's the big one: it converts starches into sugars. Cured sweet potatoes are dramatically sweeter than uncured ones.
So here's exactly how you do it. After you dig up your tubers, gently brush off the excess dirt. But again, don't wash them yet. Find a spot that's warm and humid. You're looking for temperatures around 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity, like 85 to 90%. I know that's specific, but it matters. You can use a spare room with a humidifier, a greenhouse, even a large cooler if you rig it right. Spread the tubers out in a single layer so air can circulate around them. Leave them there for 10 to 14 days. During this time, the tubers are healing themselves. Any little cuts or scrapes will seal over. The skins toughen up, and inside, enzymes are breaking down starches and converting them to sugars. It's basically like aging cheese or curing meat. Time and the right conditions create something way better than what you started with. After that curing period, you can gently wipe them down to remove any remaining dirt and then store them in a cool, dry place. Not refrigerator cooled, that damages them. Just cool, like 55 to 60 degrees if you can manage it. And here's the really amazing part. Properly cured and stored sweet potatoes will last for months. I'm talking about 6 months or more. And they actually get sweeter as they sit. So if you cure them in October, by December or January, they're at their absolute peak. I've literally had people tell me they didn't even like sweet potatoes until they tried ones I'd grown and cured properly. The difference is dramatic. So be patient, take the time to cure them right, and you'll be rewarded with the sweetest, most delicious sweet potatoes you've ever tasted. It's absolutely worth the extra effort. So that's everything you need to know about growing sweet potatoes that actually produce big, beautiful tubers instead of just pretty leaves. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. And if you have any questions or tips of your own, maybe you've got a curing setup that works great, or you figured out a trick for your particular climate, drop them in the comments below. I love hearing what's working in your garden. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.